off your first job post. That's linkedin.com/sports. Terms and conditions apply.
It's time for some straight talk. Look, we all drop our phones. It happens. You fumble it, crack it, splash it. Well, Straight Talk Wireless now offers this new Platinum Unlimited plan that includes phone protection. Just $65 a month for unlimited talk, text, and data, plus 20 gigs of hotspot, 100 gigs of cloud storage, and more. All on the best network. Straight Talk Wireless, no contract, no compromise. See Mobile Protect terms and conditions at Asurion.com/Straight Talk. Limitations and exclusions apply.
This is
all my life, been grinding all my life. Sacrifice, hustle paid the price. Want a slice, got to roll the dice. That's why all my life, I've been grinding all my life. Look, all my
Welcome
life.
to Darren and Sterling here on ESPN Kansas City, 94.5 FM, 1510 AM with you live in studio. Quick programming though, we will be off tomorrow as I travel to Las Vegas, but we will be back here on Friday afternoon. With me as always, the vacationing Mr. Sterling. Sterling, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. Just picked up a few new books at my favorite bookstore. So I'm doing pretty good except for my sunburn on my shins. I don't know how I got sunburned on my shins, but they're there and it hurts.
Also joining us sitting in for the vacation is Mr. Steve Walls. Of course, he's host of the W. You can hear every Saturday morning at 11 a.m. on 100.1 FM. Steve, good afternoon to you.
Yeah.
Doing okay, man. Now, if you listen very closely, Steve, you heard what he said. And I don't ain't talking about the sunburn on his shin. I'm talking about he got books from my being his. He owns a library. He owns his own personal bookstore where he goes and gets his own books to read.
I wish I did. It's Gene's Books in Sanibel Island. Gene's Books is the coolest place, Darren.
I would know. I mean, I don't
but he
think.
did say island.
Exactly.
Island.
That's what I was about to get to, Steve. He's talking about, he just said that so nonchalantly, like this is what we do. So, look, shout out to you, Sterling. We appreciate you taking time out of your vacation to join us today. Look, there's a lot to get into. We want to thank everyone once again for listening. You can give us a call at 913-491-8255. A lot of moving parts, but I want to get you all thoughts first and foremost on the Kansas City Chiefs. They've signed the cornerback that was just recently released by the New York Giants to their practice squad, and wanted to get you all's thoughts on it, Steve. I don't know why the name escapes me. I got to go right to it. Right,
DeAndre Baker.
DeAndre Baker. So we have him here in Kansas City. He has been signed to, or he is going to join the Kansas City Chiefs practice squad before he obviously joins the main roster, and which kind of makes sense because he can't do it anyway because he's got to go through the whole COVID protocols anyway. So you may as well just put him on the practice squad, and then once he clears his 5-10 days that he has to do, he can go right up to the 53-man roster. So Steve, I wanted to ask you first about it because you were on the Zoom call where Andy Reid talked a little bit about DeAndre Baker today.
I mean, you think about it though. Go back to 2019, I believe is when he came out and out of Georgia, and he was on the Chiefs draft board at that time. So at that time, it was looked at as we're going into the 2019 season. Cornerback, you really didn't know what you were going to get from Tavares Ward. You didn't have Rashard Breeland at that time, and it was like, okay, well, what is our need for going into the 2019 season? And it was cornerback. I mean, it was a secondary, but then you went and got Tyrann Mathieu. And so things changed. And of course, they went on to win the Super Bowl. But he was a guy that I think Brett Veach liked. And when he came available, Brett Veach was probably licking at the chops. Like, hey, I saw this guy throughout college, and all of our draft scouts had probably talked to him. I'm sure that if he was on their draft board at that time, they probably talked to him, know what his background is like. And Andy Reid said it best today. He said, they're going to keep it real with him, Brett. Make sure that anything less than what they're asking for is unacceptable. So I think he'll pan out well for this team. It gives them a lot more depth at the cornerback position.
And Sterling, look, you've been talking about it as much throughout the season, last 2 years, is that this was a position of strength where they need to get stronger. I know you've also been big on linebackers as well and improving on that, but got a chance to talk to Javarius Ward, of course, and I'll get to him in just a little bit. But your thoughts on the move in bringing Baker in, and how's this, and your thoughts on their strengthening their defense when he makes it up to the 53-man roster.
Well, first off, as far as the player himself, DeAndre Baker, we all know is loaded with potential. Obviously drafted in the first round for a reason. And then as far as the off the field issues, he just got exonerated. Basically, what it made it seem like was, he was
extorted.
Yeah, extorted for money. And I do want to say something very, very quickly before I talk about DeAndre Baker. You almost have to feel bad for the Giants in a way. It's the same thing that almost happened, different because Kareem Hunt obviously had the issues, but because the Chiefs had to get rid of Kareem Hunt and then the Browns take him on, and people are like, oh, well, good job for the Browns giving him a second chance. Well, you look at the Giants right now, the Chiefs take on DeAndre Baker, and they're kind of applauded for giving him a second chance. I think that's something in the NFL that needs to be changed because right now the Giants just lost out on a great talent based on information that was false. So I think that's something in the NFL that needs to get changed in the future. But as far as DeAndre Baker coming to Kansas City, this is just amazing. I mean, DeAndre Baker, a young guy, talented. Spags has already gotten so much out of guys who are unheralded, guys who are undrafted, 6th-round, draft picks. This is a first-rounder coming to a Spags defense that is improving. I believe they're ranked 8th in pass defense in the NFL. He is only going to improve this. L'Jarius Sneed, when he comes back from injury, I mean, we're talking a potential young cornerback and secondary group that has the potential to last in Kansas City for, 5+ years. You have to be extremely excited right now.
If I remember correctly, Steve, is Javarius Ward a free agent after this season or is it next season?
It's next season. So.
So I mean, and then obviously, as you mentioned, Baker, he was in the same draft class as McCole Hardman, and so they were teammates as well. So I know that's something that they talked about. Like McCole can vouch for his character and whatnot, and so. Look, I think it's a good pickup for Kansas City. As has been mentioned before, the defensive backs that they currently have now, they have yet to really play as a cohesive unit together because they've either been out injured, they've been on suspension, or, when one comes back, someone else is going out and not being able to play. So this will be good for them, obviously, coming off the bye week. He's really going to be, he will be needed Sunday, but he's really going to be needed going further when the type of teams that they're going to be playing, the New Orleans Saints, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Miami Dolphins, where they're going to be throwing the ball, where they're going to be attacking the defensive backs. And so we'll get a chance to see just how well. And the other thing is, it's not costing Kansas City a whole lot of money. I mean, granted, I think he's, I don't know if his contract got voided due to contract detriment to the league, but I'm pretty sure, it's still kind of a rookie structure that they're paying DeAndre Baker. So they're getting him for the cheap. You only got him at least for the rest of the season. I'm not sure how long he signed for, but probably for the rest of the season and then maybe go from there to see what happens after that. Obviously, the one thing that I do want to do, because since we won't be on tomorrow, I do want to hurry up and look at tomorrow night's game. Of course, you have Thursday Night Football, Arizona Cardinals, Seattle Seahawks. I want to get these picks out the way because I know I'm looking at the bet site, and I know I'm going to have to make my bets when I either later on this evening or when I get to Vegas tomorrow. But, Steve, you got the Arizona Cardinals, Seattle Seahawks. Seattle lost 3 games in a row. Arizona Cardinals, they had the big win, obviously, this past Sunday. They have the momentum. Seattle, though, is a 3-point favorite at home. How's this game going to unfold?
Yeah, I think Russell might take another L, man.
That's what
I think the stat is that, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but Kyler hasn't lost to Seattle yet, right? I don't think. I think it's true, but either way, I believe that the Arizona Cardinals are going to win tomorrow, and it's going to suck for Russell Wilson because I know he and everybody's talking about the Cinderella story of the him making the MVP and getting all the MVP votes or whatever. So it's going to hurt that from that point of view. But I think Arizona's going to pull it out tomorrow. And they're going to be riding high after that win that they had last Sunday.
Sterling, what say you, man?
Well, Steve, you and I agree a lot. I feel like it's typically you and me ganging up on Darren, but I'm disagreeing. I'm disagreeing with you here. I'm going with the Seahawks. I don't see a team this talented, especially offensively, lose 4 games in a row. What the Cardinals did against last week with that throw to Hump was miraculous. It was amazing, and you're obviously riding high. But just the Seahawks, to me, when you look at a game of, I almost want to say balances in a way. Some team's going to come back to earth, and some team is going to come back from the lows and get back up to the highs. And I think the Seahawks, just based on the law of averages, will come back in this game. I like DK Metcalf. I like Tyler Lockett. Yes, the Seahawks secondary is abysmal, and I expect Kyler Murray to go, to D-Hop again and again. If D-Hop had 200 yards receiving in this game, I would not be surprised. But as a whole, I like the Seahawks team bouncing back, so I got to roll with the Seahawks.
Wow. Well, I'm saying, wow. Now, I hadn't even picked the winner, so I'm not sure how you agree with me on this one, Sterling, but I got to go with Arizona in this game. I think the fact that they're hot, Russell Wilson is playing himself out of the MVP race. Kyler Murray is playing himself into it. The fact that these two teams, the last time they played, Arizona won that game in overtime thanks to 3 turnovers and 3 interceptions from Russell Wilson. I think it's more of the same. I think with this, because the defense is so bad, for the Seahawks that Russell Wilson's putting that much more pressure on himself to try to compensate for the play of his defense. And I think that is what is causing them to make those mistakes that we're seeing in the ball game, and he really can't help himself. I mean, it's not that he's trying to, or that he doesn't want to do better. It's just that that's just the situation that he finds himself in, and I just think that Arizona, they're playing so much, they're playing so much more better. They play well, when the stakes are high. They play well on national television all of a sudden, and I think that Arizona, they can smell blood in the water. And the fact that, let me try to pull up right quick, the fact that I see that, what the standings are right now, where's this thing at here? Looking at the standings, we've got, let's see, we have the Arizona Cardinals, where right now I believe they are tied. They're tied for the lead. But
they both are 6-3.
Yeah, they're 6-3, but they're 6-3, but they're number 3 overall in the conference. So I think that now that they can, they look at themselves as a potential playoff team, they're going to start playing like it, and just like other teams do post bye week, knowing that now that every game is important as the very next one, they're going to start playing like they're in the playoffs, kind of like the Chiefs did last year, where they got off that bye and they just kept winning to try to better position themselves until they end up getting, obviously, the home field advantage as the playoffs started for them. So I like Arizona in this game. I think it's going to be a close game. Looking at the point spread, there, I think Arizona wins. I got them winning straight out because they're the underdogs. But whether or not they over 57, 58 points. Well, look.
I'm still taking.
I think it's I think it's going to be over because Seattle's defense is that bad, and Arizona's going to need to score because Russell Wilson's going to be able to score some points at home. So I'm looking more like, I can see 58 points. I can see a 31-28 type ball game. So that's 59 points there. So,
and you know how this year's been going. As soon as you bet the over, they're gonna come out and both of them gonna lay an egg, and then you're gonna be scratching your head like, why did I make that bet?
Well,
that's just how it's been working. That's how it's going.
That is true, Steve. But I will let you know. See, right now, I just placed some bets on that, and I don't have the over. I don't have the over or the under, so I'm able to bet it straight out, and I'm still capping out of what I need to for $150,000. So, yes, of course, that's with other parlays along the way as well. Hey,
Darren, the king of long shots right here. Hey, I've never seen anyone take more long shots than Darren.
Well, you haven't seen Steve's bets either.
It's gonna be one of those weeks where he calls you at like midnight. It's like, Sterling, I hit the big one. I got it.
Hold on, but Sterling, But see, well, Steve won't tell you that. Steve makes the same bets I make. He just ain't gonna call them. He's gonna be calling me, texting me. We did it. So all that being said, okay. So we got 2-1. So Steve, you got Arizona, correct?
I do.
Okay, so 2 versus 1. Sterling, unfortunately, we've ganged up on you, but look, we'll make the rest of the picks on Friday, and we'll obviously recap this game. I do want to take a quick time out. When we come back, we'll look at, of course, other news, including some intensive protocols that the NFL has put in place, as well as, of course, look at the NBA playoffs. Excuse me, not the NBA playoffs, but the NBA draft, right here on Darren and Sterling here on ESPN Kansas City Radio.
Thanksgiving means family, friends, and bellies full of turkey for those who can afford it. KC football legend Derek Thomas loved sharing the joy of Thanksgiving with those in need. Join Derek Sturden Long Foundation, American Shaman, and Papa John's as they give 1,200 turkeys to families in our hometown. Call 855-427-7386. That's 855-427-7386, or stop by any American Shaman with your generous donation.
Is your car in need of dent repair fix-ups because of recent hailstorms or parking lot door dings? The place to call is Precision Dent Repair KC. Precision Dent Repair KC is mobile and will pick up and deliver your vehicle back to you. They will also coordinate all your insurance needs and provide free estimates at guaranteed prices. Call or text now 913-905-9932. That's 913-905-9932, or look them up at PrecisionDentRepairKC.com. Precision Dent Repair KC will get your car restored and looking like new. Did you know the KC area has been experiencing a blood shortage since the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic? In response, the Kansas City Chiefs are teaming up with the Community Blood Center to host a life-saving blood drive at Arrowhead Stadium on Thursday, November 19th. All donors will receive a free Chiefs t-shirt and are asked to wear a face mask to their donation. Appointments are strongly encouraged. Visit savealifenow.org to schedule yours today. Make your reservations for the blood drive at Arrowhead Stadium on Thursday, November 19th.
A KC tradition since 1957, Hereford House is a locally owned steakhouse that has served generations of Kansas Cityans. Hereford House exclusively serves certified Hereford beef, which has been proven to be naturally more tender and flavorful than other brands. All their steaks are aged 21 days, hand-cut daily, and grilled over an open charcoal flame. This process provides a wonderful aroma and delicious flavor that cannot be duplicated by any other cooking method. Hereford House, Leawood, Independence, Shawnee, and Zona Rosa.
Boulevard believes in easy indulgence. That's why they decided to put Tank 7 in cans. Their distinctly American twist on a classic Belgian-style farmhouse ale takes its name from the notoriously unpredictable fermenter where the signature beer's perfect combination of ingredients first came to life. You could call it fate. Their brewers call it Tank 7. Grab a 4-pack and treat yourself to a Tank 7 today. You deserve it. Boulevard Brewing Company, Kansas City, Missouri.
Hey, Kansas City, Stephen St. John here from my friends at K&L Precision Painting. I've been working on a project with Matt from K&L Precision Painting, and I couldn't be happier with the process. They're a locally owned interior and exterior painting company. You can call or text K&L Precision Painting at 913-938-4420. That's 913-938-4420. Or visit them online at klpaintingkc.com.
K&L Precision Painting. Looks so good, you'll be fainting.
Oh no, I was hoping he was going to say something else. Welcome back to Darren and Sterling here on ESPN Kansas City Radio, 94.5 FM, 1510 AM. Steve, I wanted to ask you. I know again we were on the Zoom call today with the Chiefs. What do you think of the Zoom conference call today? Because I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of bored a little bit on it today. I don't really think any big news was dropped on there from Andy Reid, Patrick Chiverius, or even Clyde Edwards-Helaire today.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like they were beating a dead horse, man. It's kind of one of those things where it's oh well, what about the Chiefs? What about the Chiefs Raiders rivalry? and that was the main question. It's like, how many times does he have to answer, or do those guys have to answer the same question over and over again? But the interesting thing was, both, you could tell that they must have had some type of meeting or everyone's on the same page, because Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and also Travis Ward, they all had the same response regarding the bus going around the stadium. And so they were either coached up on it or they all felt the same way. And, the thing about it is, it's kind of one of those things that goes without being said. They lost the game. Tyron said it after the game. He was pissed off. And so there it is. They're going to come out on fire. It's a rivalry game. So I think they'll be okay.
Sterling, the NFL released a memo saying that all NFL teams have to operate under intensive COVID-19 protocols for the remainder of the season. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, but it does say that requirements under those intensive protocols include virtual team meetings and the wearing of masks by all players and staffs at all times while at the facility, including during practice. Your thoughts on this? And obviously they're imposing it now because of higher COVID positive tests going on around the country.
So to me, I understand that people say they're basically already in a bubble. What's the point of wearing the mask? To me, any chance you can even just lower the percentage by 1 or 2% so you can finish the season, that's worth it. To me, anything you can do that you think is going to help, at least try it to make sure you get the season done, underway, you get through it safe, and everyone gets back to their families healthy and happy. So I'm okay with it personally. I think it's a step in the right direction. The NFL, they've had some blemishes, but nothing as bad as we thought. There haven't really been, outside of Tennessee, there hasn't really been a missed game. The whole John Gruden not wearing his mask on the sidelines, that made some news here and there. But as a whole, I think I don't know what you would say, but for me, I think the NFL has done a better job than I originally expected them to do.
Well, for me, the NFL, they're steadily changing things along as they gather more information. So I actually don't have a problem with it. People might think it's a little heavy-handed. Some of the other requirements, again, they have to have grab-and-go meal service in the team cafeteria now. So obviously none of the buffet stuff, which I don't think they've been doing anyway, but that's something a little bit more mandatory now. They have limited time spent in the locker room, so they have to be in a locker room less than 15 minutes per person per session, as well as now they have to use a mask or league-approved Oakley helmet face shields at all times in every part of the facility, including on the practice field. So, this is some new stuff that we may not have been made aware of. Limit 10 players and 5 coaches at any one time in the weight room, regardless of the size of the room. I think, again, we all believe that the NFL is going to complete this season through hell or high water, and I don't have a problem with them putting protocols in place to make sure that the season gets completed. One, because you're paying these out. You're paying everyone. It'd be different if it was college, then, that'd be another discussion. But the fact that you're actually paying these people, the players, the owners, owners paying the players and the coaches, stuff like that, you want to make sure that you get the best possible product because everybody benefits from it. And if you have one cog that's not rolling properly, then there's going to be bumps along the way. So, I'm fine with it. Steve, how about you?
I'm fine with it as well. It should have been something that they put in at the beginning of the season, but hindsight's 2020, and I think that they don't want coming down the stretch in these last few weeks where a Tennessee Titans situation, because there's still a few teams that have to go on have their bye week, and so it's they're just being precautious, and when there's money involved, they're going to take every precaution necessary to make sure that they can finish the season. And the thing about it is, whatever they do after the season is on them, right? But right now, they're going to make sure that they're maintaining every social distancing thing that they need to put in place.
And again, Sterling, you almost have to, because the league gave the players an option to opt out earlier this summer. I think it was maybe the second or the first, by the end of the first week of August, players had to decide if they were going to opt out for a certain amount of salary or whatever. And so, I know players started complaining about, when the games were being moved and stuff like that. But again, this is what you agreed to, the Players Association, the league, is what you all agreed to. And so, the league having I don't want to call it the audacity, but obviously, but the wherewithal to make these necessary adjustments. Again, it's always for the betterment of the game. And people say, yeah, look, the owners are trying to get paid and they're, but again, everybody's benefiting from it. Now, everybody's not going to make it obviously to the playoffs and make it to the Super Bowl, but to get those things done, this is what has to be done if you're the NFL and the Players Association.
Well, to me, really quickly, I think Elijah's put in place too. Teams like Kansas City, teams like Pittsburgh, teams that are in the hunt for a long Super Bowl run, they're going to be taking this careful anyways. But then other teams that are already done, maybe the teams like the Jets, like the Giants, they're not playing for anything. If you're a player, you're like, well, I don't really care that much at this point. Maybe I don't want to even hang out with my teammates right now. So, that's what I think this is more in place for. Some of these teams that they're not in the hunt. What are they playing for? Make sure that they stay safe. I don't know about you guys. I wouldn't even be opposed if come playoff time, they did more of a bubble type of situation. Make sure guys are, centralized. Make sure guys are taking this carefully, because that way, if you have a guy like Patrick Mahomes, all of a sudden he gets COVID, what does that do to the playoffs? What does that do for your Super Bowl chances? What does that do for ratings? So I wouldn't be surprised come playoff time if we see an even more strict, restrictions happen.
Steve, I don't know if I heard you chuckling over there, but I don't know. Maybe I'm cynical. If Patrick somehow came up tested positive, I don't know if that would ever get out. I think they would just keep that under wraps. I know it might be harder to do, but if something like that were to happen, yeah, I think all hell will break loose. And I think we've had this little conversation before, but I'm not opposed to it. I mean, I kind of wish that they would have done so now. I know I've asked Patrick the question during the Zoom calls about actually being isolated or the players staying in the hotel in a bubble away from the family to complete the season. He's all for it. Obviously, the Players Association, they're not for it. But I think as we get closer to the start of the playoffs, and obviously the numbers increase regarding COVID. And as you see, not only has the number increased across the country, but it's also increased along the NFL, because I think this past week, 17 players have tested positive. So that is a record number thus far. At one time, obviously, of course, the Titans, I think they had about 22 overall over the span of a couple of weeks. But that being the case, this is not, that's not a bad idea, Steve, as it relates to, putting these teams in a bubble or, certain hotels or whatever, and isolating them as the playoffs begin. Stadium, back to the hotels where you have your meetings and dinner and go to bed and stuff like that.
Yeah, I agree. Especially when it's playoff time and you don't want one person or two people that could possibly come down with the virus trapped, the different various cities, and that determine the outcome of a game, right? So I think that they should look at putting these teams in a bubble.
Now, of course, with you and Sterling, again, we talked a little bit about it yesterday. You all have the New Orleans Saints in the Super Bowl going up against the Chiefs. Looks as though Drew Brees, he had a second opinion regarding the injuries that he suffered, and it did confirm the original diagnosis of a collapsed lung and a total of 5 fractured ribs on both sides of his body. There's talked a little bit about it, I know, on some of the talk shows earlier today, but have we seen the last of Drew Brees?
I hate to say it, but I think so. And, not only because of just the injury in itself, but I mean, because of his age. When you get up there in age, you don't bounce back like you did when you were 21, 22 years old, a young guy, fresh, out of college. So, it sucks, but I think Jameis Winston, like I said yesterday, he's gonna come in and do his thing because he is auditioning for another job next year.
Well, his thing is 30 touchdowns and 30 interceptions. So, Sterling, I'm going to let you take over for that.
I'm just going to say this, though. If you think he's done, there's no chance. It depends what you mean by done. He's coming back, and he's coming back at least for the playoffs. That much I would bet money on. The reason why I say Drew Brees isn't done, he had 3 broken ribs, they said, before even this previous game where he got the punctured lung. So they're saying basically Drew Brees played an entire game with 3 broken or fractured ribs. That dude is tough. That dude is coming back and he's going to play. Just to put that in perspective, he is 41 and playing NFL football with fractured ribs. That is a guy who is tough and wants to get it done. He knows his time in the NFL is dwindling. He knows his time is almost done. You know, how many good years he has left, you know, maybe 1, maybe 2, maybe they're all behind him. But he's going to do everything that he possibly can to try and get healthy for a playoff run. So I think Drew Brees is coming back. I think he's coming back to the playoffs, and I think he will make an impact this season.
But here's the thing about that. Hold on real quick, Darren. Here's the thing about that, too. You know, what do they say? COVID attack, the lung. That's a whole nother situation that, you know, you're going to have doctors that are going to tell you about. You know, you got to keep that in the back of your mind that with a punctured lung, that could raise you up and being in the whatever it's called, the high risk stage. So, I mean, you have to look at it from that perspective as well.
And Sterling, look, the other thing as well, I mean, he's kind of like what's the quarterback?
Phil Rivers.
Yeah, Phil Rivers. Where, you know, look, he's got a big family, man. You know, I mean, he's, you know, I mean, if you're his wife and you got all these kids and you see your husband out there, yeah, you know he wants to make that one last ride. Like this is gosh, Steve, man, I'm drawing blank now. I'm thinking about the movie with Jamie Foxx, Any Given Sunday, where, you know, he's Dennis Quaid trying to give it his last. I mean, but you know, you got a family to go home to, man. I mean, his wife might sit there telling him, like, look, man, you can't try to risk it all like that.
I get that, but I mean, when you marry an NFL player, you know football is part of their life, and that, you know, their main goal probably is trying to win a Super Bowl. You know, Drew Brees is a extremely competitive guy. You know what you're getting into, and it's not Drew Brees. I don't want to say deserves another chance at the Super Bowl, because no one deserves a chance like that. It's something that you work for, but if there is a quarterback that you want to root for, who you're like, you know what, I want to see Drew Brees go out on top, or at least go out with a very good run in the playoffs, that's a quarterback I am rooting for. I think a lot of guys around the league are rooting for. You know, if you're his wife, you're probably rooting for him to end on that on a high note rather than him going out in agony. That's what I think.
Yeah, but I guess the only pushback I say is that, okay, let's say he comes back in time for the playoffs. Now, again, I'm like Steve, 41 years old, 5 cracked ribs or fractured ribs, as well as I think the other injury that he might have suffered. I just don't know. I mean, I just don't know whether or not, okay, you sit out or you rest up, but you still got to have that game, you know, that game time speed. Now, I don't know how much practice he's going to be able to do between now and then, but I just don't see him, even if he does come back, him being any type of performer that he's been prior to him having these injuries. And then with a collapsed lung as well, I mean, you know, you got to build all that stuff back up before you can just get back out there and start. There's a reason why, well, there's obviously a few reasons why we don't see Tyrod Taylor back out there, but I just can't see Drew Brees, even, let's just give him best case scenario 6 weeks, to be able to come back and look like the Drew Brees that he was looking like before this injury took place.
The thing is, though, they just have so many weapons. I mean, you have Alvin Kamara, Michael Thomas. It's not like Drew Brees was going over the top deep to Michael Thomas when they were at their best. At their best, they're doing slants to Michael Thomas. At their best, they're using Alvin Kamara on these short under routes. He's not the guy that needs to go deep and over the top time and time again. As long as he has the threat of going over the top, that's all that he really needs for this Saints offense to really get going.
Yeah. If it was just a rib issue, I would say, you know, he'd be back 3 or 4 weeks. He had a little flap jacket put on there and on his pads, and he'd go at it. But it's a collapsed lung. It took Tyrod Taylor, I think, 5 or 6 weeks before he's able to be placed back onto the depth chart. So, you know, and Tyrod's 31 years old, so that's 10 years age difference. And look at 6 weeks. So I think it's going to take him at 6, possibly 7. Weeks before he's able to even throw a football. So, you know, it's just one of those things. We'll have to wait and see.
Shout out to Drew Brees. He went to go get a second opinion, and it confirmed what everybody already knew. Now, of course, tonight at 6:30, We have the NBA draft, of course, it'll be on ESPN as well as ESPN radio. Now, Steve, I know you follow college basketball a little bit more than I do. I follow KU. But can you tell me anything about this Anthony Edwards? Everybody's saying that now he is going to be the number one draft pick. I know he was a guard out of Georgia, or who played for the University of Georgia. But, I mean, can you hear me out how this kid just came out of nowhere, became the number one, or might become the number one draft pick tonight?
He's one of those guys he's 6'3", built, 225. He's when you look at a typical two guard, maybe he's definitely that guy. He can get you in the triple threat and then pull up, either where be from 3-point, or he has a nice mid-range game too. So I don't think he's going to go number one. But he's high on everyone's draft board. But there's so many mock drafts out there where they have, some people have LaMelo Ball going first, some people have Obi Toppin going first, and I think Obi may be the guy who goes first in Minnesota. He's 6'9", I think, and can shoot the three really well, plus handle the ball. So I think it's going to be Obi that goes first in tonight's draft.
Yeah, he was the College Player of the Year last year. Sterling, your thoughts on this Anthony Edwards?
Yeah, again, I've seen some just SEC. I'm a Mizzou guy, but to me, as much as I am not a LeVar Ball or really any of the Ball fan, I do think sometimes they get a bad rap. I think it makes sense going with Ball first overall, and the reason why is he's already gone up and played against grown men overseas. Yeah. He's already going up against not NBA talent by any means, but better talent than in college against grown men. And you can't, compare that against college basketball. It's just a different style of game. And the Minnesota Timberwolves, I know they're quote unquote rebuilding, but they also have some veteran guys. Karl Anthony Towns, I don't think wants to keep losing. You got D'Angelo Russell. I don't think he wants to keep losing. You have some pieces there. I don't know if you want to go with the more raw talent or if you're going to go with the guy who's already played against some grown men and try and speed this rebuild process up.
So, Steve, I'm curious because I read late today that the Boston Celtics, they're looking to try to jump up into the top three. Obviously, they probably still got draft picks from when Paul Pierce played, all the draft picks that they've been accumulating over these last few years. But can you see a team like Golden State trying to trade out of the top three, or do you see? What kind of moves do you think will be made prior to the draft where teams will try to move up, and a team like Golden State, because of the weapons that they already have, looking to maybe possibly trade out and maybe get rid of Andrew Wiggins along the way?
I think right now, when you look at Golden State, you see Steph, you see Clay, both guys, or at least Clay, is coming off of an injury, and so you don't know what you're going to get from Clay. But the thing about it too, and it's not like Clay is a driver and slasher by any means. He's a pull up and he's a three guy. And like Sterling said yesterday, Clay can only dribble 11 times and score over 30 points. So you can see them possibly trading out of it. But the thing about it is, it may be just a pick up a guy and trade him off, use him as a bargaining chip to get a veteran out of there. Out of whoever you draft.
Well, I get it. I don't know. I guess I'm gonna kind of side with Sterling on this one. I think LaMelo Ball will be number one. I do want to make a correction. I think I said yesterday that I couldn't remember a time where you have siblings like that. Obviously, Peyton Manning and Eli Manning both were number one in the NFL. So even I can come back and say I was wrong. I just, kind of forgot all about the Eli's and the Mannings and stuff like that.
Would you imagine that Boston would be trying to get into the top three to get James Wiseman? Because I wouldn't imagine they'd be trying to get a guard. They have so many guys, between Tatum, between Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart. They have so many guards. I wouldn't imagine they'd be going that route. I would think it would have to be for James Wiseman. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah. I agree. I could see them giving up Gordon Hayward, who's been expressing that he wants out of Boston. At least that's on the rumor mill. So, I mean, you can give up a small forward, Gordon Hayward, and put in a James Wiseman with that squad, man, and let them run. Get up and down the floor.
Well, they're also trying to, from the toss, of course, they're trying to get into this James Harden talk. I mean, they would easily give up Kemba Walker as well if need be. So, look, obviously Boston has a lot of assets. They have players, they have draft picks that they can make big moves. And it's funny because I know as much as we've talked about obviously the Lakers and the Clippers and of course the Nets with this recent set of news with James Harden, I don't want us to forget about what we saw with Boston this year in the playoffs and Jason Tatum. I mean, Steve and I made a few dollars off of Jason Tatum this past NBA playoff. So I do want them, I mean, if they can make some moves, whether it's acquiring James Harden or moving up and getting somebody like a James Wiseman to add to their team, and obviously Tatum is the leader of this squad. Man, look, they should be a team that's worthy, along with Milwaukee, along with Toronto, along with the Brooklyn Nets. Hey, this is a team to watch out for in this upcoming season. Sterling, I know we got to say goodbye to you. When we come back, Steve and I will continue to look at some of the news here in the world of sports. Keep it locked in. You're listening to Darren and Sterling here on ESPN Kansas City.
Our standards are the highest I've ever seen in the business, and I've been in this industry my entire life.
That's jewelry veteran Robert Violante at Diamonds Direct, talking about how only the best of the best diamonds make it to the Diamonds Direct showcases.
We start by selecting the very best rough. We cut it, polish it, and then take the top 15 to 20% and offer that to our clients.
That mind-to-showroom concept allows Diamonds Direct to offer superior quality for less.
One thing that always surprises clients is how much further their budget will go with Diamonds Direct. They may have been looking at a 1 carat somewhere else for what they were hoping to spend. Well, at Diamonds Direct, you could get a 1 1/4, sometimes a 1 1/2, and it's really amazing.
And then there's the after the sale commitment from Diamonds Direct, a promise to stand by that jewelry for life for free.
Once you become a Diamonds Direct client, you're our customer in our family forever. We take care of your ring for life for free. You never pay for any service. Anything you ever need done, we take care of free for life.
Diamonds Direct, your love, our passion.
At 119th and Rowe.
Ryan Lawn & Tree was recently voted the best landscaping company by KC Magazine. Winter is the best time to complete your outdoor projects so that you can enjoy your breathtaking outdoor oasis this spring. We specialize in projects that include outdoor kitchens, patios, pergolas, outdoor lighting, sunrooms, decks, and much more. Our designers are ready to create an outdoor living space that is uniquely yours. Kansas City owned and operated since 1987, Ryan Lawn & Tree is the company for all your landscaping needs. Visit us at ryanlawn.com today.
Did you know on average, people only review their insurance plans once every 4 years? Hi, this is Corey Schnabel, owner of KC Insurance Group. Call KC Insurance Group today at 913-396-6320 for a no-obligation review of your current policy. If your current policy is the best fit for you, we'll tell you. If not, we'll save you some money with a tailored proposal from one of the best carriers in Kansas City. It's truly a win-win. KC Insurance Group voted 2019's best agency by Pitch Magazine. 913-396-6320 or visit us online at kcinsured.com.
You can keep your grass green and lush all year long with a new sprinkler system from Summit Lawn and Landscape. Call Summit Lawn and Landscape today at 816-966-9434 to design a water-efficient system for your home and never drag a hose again. 816-966-9434. Summit Lawn and Landscape provides complete lawn maintenance, including mowing, fertilization, and landscape installation, maintenance, and design. Call 816-966-9434 or go to summitlawn.com.
At Central Bank of the Midwest, we are focused on building strong communities across Kansas City. I'm Bill Ferguson, President and CEO. Our strong roots began more than 100 years ago in the heart of the Midwest and continue today across 5 states and 67 communities. Central Bank of the Midwest brings you the best of both worlds, a strong community bank with the resources and technology to deliver a legendary banking experience. Central Bank of the Midwest, strong roots, endless possibilities. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Welcome back to Darren and Sterling here on ESPN Kansas City, 94.5 FM, 1510 AM. Steve, I got some breaking news for you, which I'm pretty sure you did not know. The Raiders starting defense, according to Pro Football Talk, are are set to go on the COVID-19 reserve after close contacts. It said almost all of the Raiders starters have to go on the COVID-19 reserve list because of high-risk close contacts, according to the NFL Network. Now, as long as they all test negative, they can play on Sunday. But your initial thoughts on this, because it looks like Raiders defensive end Cleveland Farrell has tested positive, and so obviously most of the defensive players have been in close contact with Farrell.
Wow. That's and I hate to hear it, because I don't want any of these, Raiders fans, Chiefs fans. I don't want them to be the well, you guys won because of this, or we lost because of this. I'd like to see it more of an evenly shaped game. I mean, when you have a guy that goes down due to an unforeseen circumstance, it just takes away from the game, if you know what I mean. But I hate to hear that, man. And I hope that, and it may come to fruition. And remember, we talked about it the other day. If you have a certain number of guys on your team and you don't have anybody else to replace them on your depth chart, they're going to have to move the game. And I know Andy Reid, when you look at it from that standpoint, because the Chiefs offensive linemen, 3 of their offensive linemen had been placed on the COVID-19 list, was it on Monday? Yeah. I believe. And so we had talked about, well, if they can't play, the Raiders are still going to want to play. They don't care. Well, now Andy Reid is going to be like, well, it doesn't matter us. We're all healthy. We ready to go. Let's go, like Andy Reid said. So I hate to see it, man. I hope they're able to play this game on Sunday with everybody healthy.
And look, here's the other thing too. What if you're on the defensive side of the ball? You may have some bumps and bruises. If all you got to do is test negative, but you get a chance to kind of rest your body some, knowing what you're going to be going up against Sunday, may not be as bad as it sounds.
Yeah, but the thing too is, if you test positive, it's still 10 days, right, until you can test negative.
Well, that's not that's Farrell. The other ones, again, you can of course test negative if you're in close contact, but we also don't know whether or not they've tested positive as well.
Well, it just disrupts everything, especially when you know that Andy Reid's gonna draw up some stuff that you didn't see in the first meeting. And so they're going to basically have a new game plan, because you can't go in there with the same game plan that you had, in that first meeting and think that you're going to win the game. So I'm sure they've been looking at film over these past few weeks of who the Chiefs have played, some of their tendencies that they've had, and they're not going to be able to go over that stuff if the guys are out because of being on that COVID list. And let's just say they come back on Saturday, then what? It's like you missed the whole week, even though I know you can do iPads and everything virtual, but it's nothing like being around your team and getting the vibe of, okay, we're going to make this thing work and work out during practice.
And what's interesting, Steve, of course, before the show, I had sent you a text and said, hey, they got the Chiefs Raiders game up on the website, of course. And then during the show, as I was telling you, Sterling, I'm placing bets for the Cardinals Seahawks game. I saw how the game just magically disappeared off the website. So now I see why.
No, but those guys, they have doctors, man. That's a $1 billion industry in that betting stuff, man. They have doctors on calls like, hey, did you hear about this? And once one site takes it down, it's all across the board.
Yeah. So of course, well, again, I think because I know the game will get played now, unless for some ungodly reason that they can't. They can, but unless something happens like that, I don't see the game again being moved or being anything like that. Eight top hoop teams to play over the 2 nights. The Champions Classic featuring KU in the Champions Classic in Indianapolis, Indiana. Will be no fans in attendance. The State Farm Champions Classic, set for December 1st, features number 9 Duke facing number 13 Michigan State and number 10 Kentucky playing number 6 Kansas. Of course, the Blue Devils will host the Spartans, Kentucky and Kansas. They will all play at the Bankers Life Fieldhouse in Indianapolis. And then, of course, for the women, the Jimmy V. men's classic will take place on December 2nd with Tennessee going up against number 1 Gonzaga, number 2 Baylor playing playing number 8 Illinois, and those games will also be played. Chris Life, your thoughts on these matchups?
Especially these guys that had their season cut short last year. It's good to see them be able to get back out on the floor. But the thing about it is they won't have any fans, which is kind of going to be one of those early morning AAU on a Saturday morning type games with an empty gym. All the people you have there is your parents, but not even your parents won't even be there this time around. So I think it's gonna be good to see, especially get to see some college hoops, man, because the way that it ended, like I said last season. So I'm excited.
Good thing, of course, college basketball kind of tips off early. I know that's the quote unquote start for ESPN, but KU Gonzaga Thanksgiving Day, 1 o'clock. That's going to be big time.
It's gonna be weird. It's gonna be weird, man.
It is going to be weird, but but it's either that or we're stuck watching NFL football early in the day with Detroit and Dallas, and we don't get the big game until later on that night with the Pittsburgh Steelers taking on the Baltimore Ravens. So that's pretty cool within itself. Now, Steve, look, people get a chance to voice their opinion, and it looks as though it worked for Patriots cornerback J.C. Jackson. He's the NFL league leader in interceptions, and somehow his name was left off the Pro Bowl ballot. And it seems that, now that, fans got a chance to weigh in, the NFL, they decided to make amends and add his name to the Van voting to the participation part of the Pro Bowl. J.C. Jackson, what do you think about the NFL?
It's pretty funny, man. But shout out to the NFL that you got to give it to the fans too, because they're voicing their opinion. One of their favorites were left out, even though this year the Pro Bowl is not going to be played. I saw that they're going to be doing something with Madden, so they're going to have like a round robin Madden type tournament deal where all these guys are going to be virtual and playing the game in lieu of the Pro Bowl, which I think is pretty cool, and fans can vote on the rosters as well. So the NFL is trying to do some things to get more fans involved, and I don't see anything wrong with it.
And obviously, other news is going on right now. You look at the New York Giants. We know they're bad, but this is so bad that they fired the offensive line coach, Mark Colombo, following a nasty verbal confrontation with the head coach, Joe Judge. Now, I don't know. Look, every workplace isn't the greatest in the world, but you can't just go arguing and having a nasty conversation with your boss and think that you're going to remain on staff. So, obviously, this is not a good move. It's not a good move on Colombo's part, but maybe you get some severance pay out of all this. And what's interesting is that there was plenty of name calling according to the reports, but they also did not get into a fist fight according to, I guess, some reports. I guess that there was a false report that there was a physical altercation. So, this could potentially open up, another position for let's say an African-American coach or whatever to, go on with the New York Giants somewhere.
That's really interesting because you have a head coach fighting an offensive line coach, and when you look at it, it's just when wins and losses, man, when the losses start adding up, it just tempers start flying. But to it be the coaches though that are actually throwing blows, and they probably did have a fist fight. However, they just don't want it to get out there like that, but they probably did. But it sucks for the team, because now you're going to have to replace an offensive line coach, and it breaks up the camaraderie of that group.
That is true. Now, just seeing this now, and of course, Sterling is already off the phone line, but it looks as though that even though Seattle's going to be getting back Carlos Hyde in Thursday's game, Tyler Lockett and Chris Carson might not play in Thursday's game. It looks as though they're both questionable right now. Lockett was listed as a non-participant on Monday and Tuesday. Carson missed the last 2 games with an ankle injury and has been limited in practice. Your thoughts on this? And obviously, we both got Arizona, but does this change anything for you?
No, I mean, I'm still taking Arizona. But if they don't have a weapon like Tyler Lockett, and like I said, Russ is going to take another L this week, man. And it's bad for him, just because in that MVP running, this is going to be yet another year, unless something miraculous happens and he goes, wins out for the rest of the season. But I just don't think they're going to win this game.
Well, I mean, could always be worse. I mean, you could be Russell Wilson, and you could have another 3-4 interception game. So,
right.
So that being said, Steve, what you got coming up this weekend, man? I know I'm traveling tomorrow, but what you got coming up this weekend on the W?
The Chiefs Raiders matchup. Also talk a little bit of the James Harden, Russell Westbrook fiasco, man. Also, our sneakers of the week, always we have that on the show as well. So it's going to be fun on Saturday.
And looking at this late breaking news coming across here, New York Mets Robinson Cano banned for 2021 Major League Baseball season due to PED. Suspended for the entire season, whether it's 60 games or 80 games or 162, according to Rob Manfred. I don't think this really does anything for the Mets' chances, but your thoughts?
Yeah, man, come on, Robinson. I mean, but the thing about it too is when you get up there in age, you want to start. What do they say? If you're not cheating, you're not trying. But yeah.
Hold on. Wait a second now. You don't tell that to your son, do you?
No, of course not. Of course not. No, but it's not his first time being suspended.
Yeah,
of course, he was suspended back in 2018 when he was with the Mariners for PEDs. So, I mean, guess you just didn't learn your lesson, man. And now he'll have to forfeit $24 million, which is a lot of money. Even though he's made a lot of money, and Jay-Z's actually made him a lot of money too. But yeah, man, it's unfortunate to see, especially you getting up there in age and you gotta start cheating, man. It's time to hang them up.
All right, Steve, look, man, really appreciate you this week, man. We'll talk again on Friday. Again, programming will be off tomorrow due to my travel schedule, but we'll be back on Friday, 1 o'clock West Coast time, 3 o'clock Central, with Darren and Sterling here on ESPN Kansas City. So for Steve Walls, for Sterling Holmes, and my good guy Rudy over there taking care of us, keeping us on the air, you all have a safe evening. Please wear a mask, social distance, stay safe.